Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen. Amma ba'd, fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulallah wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah. As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Nabiyallah wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Nurallah. Welcome dear viewers to another segment of Do Not Harm Others. Let's listen to the excellence of reciting Durood Sharif, Salat ala Nabi. The Prophet ﷺ said, for everything there is a purifier, and the purifier of the heart from rust is Salat ala Nabi. When we sin, rust accumulates on our heart. How do we clean that rust? How do we remove it? By reciting Salat ala Nabi in abundance. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. There are so many ways of harming others. And sometimes we're neglectful. We don't even think that this action of mine may lead to the other person being harmed or suffering. One of those ways is using the items or possessions of another person without their approval, without their ijazah. They may need it, we take it and we start using it ourselves. And that could be any item. It could be someone's pen, it could be someone's towel, someone's shoes, someone's comb, someone's coat, oil, mobile phone. So when we use these things without the permission of the owner, it could cause him harm. And it could cause us harm as well. How? On the day of judgment, if we're asked to answer for this, accountability is taken. Why did we use somebody's item without permission? Then we will suffer. We will face hardship. Sayyiduna Allama Abdul Wahhab Sha'rani Quddisa Sirruhun Nurani, he writes in Tanbihul Mukhtarreen that the famous tabi'i Sayyiduna Wahab bin Munabbih rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi said, there was a person from Banu Israel who repented from his previous sins. And after repenting, he began to perform pious deeds and worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for 70 years, sincerely and wholeheartedly. How would he do so? He would fast during the day, he would stand for worship at night. Qiyamul Layl. Neither would he eat any delicious food, nor would he rest under shade or anything like that. After he passed away, someone said to him, Ma fa'ala Allahu bika. How did Allah Azza wa Jal deal with you? He said, Allah Ta'ala took account of my deeds, and then He forgave everything except for a piece of wood, except a toothpick that I took from someone without their permission and which I used to clean my teeth. And as this was a matter of huququl ibad, the rights of the people, and I forgot to, or I didn't manage to ask the person to forgive me for using this without permission, up until now I have been prevented from paradise. Allahu Akbar Kabira. Look at the sensitivity of the matter. This person repented from his sins. This person led a life of piety. But accountability took place and he was prevented up until then from entering paradise. Why? Because he had used a piece of wood as a toothpick, and he did not ask the owner's permission to use that piece of wood. We should think, how many times do we take people's items without them even knowing, without their permission? And we know that if you ask permission, most likely they'll say no, because we're not frank and open like that with everyone. Sometimes we use something because we want to. We desperately want to, but we know the person won't give ijazat. If we do that, we'll be stuck. The Prophet ﷺ said, and this hadith is in Majma'u Zawaid, it's not permissible for a Muslim to take any wealth of his fellow Muslim unlawfully, without right. Why? Because Allah Ta'ala has made the wealth of one Muslim haram upon another Muslim. And He has also forbidden one person to take even the stick of another person without his approval, without his consent. So dear viewers, this is a very sensitive matter. If that person is not happy with us using their item, we should never use it. The Prophet ﷺ said in one hadith, لا يحل مال امرئ مسلم إِلَّا بِطِيبِ نَفْسٍ مِّنْهُ. That no wealth, no possession of another Muslim is permissible for a Muslim except with his permission, except with his consent. Mufti Ahmad Yar Khan Naimi Rahmatullahi alayhi writes under this hadith that this hadith is the source for many rulings of Islam. He says a penalty, monetary fine, or stealing, usurping someone's wealth, forcefully taking someone's wealth, all of these things are haram. So this should make it clear that using other people's belongings without permission is not something which is condoned in Islam. In fact, it's condemned in Islam, and we must avoid it. And these were examples of using someone's wealth. Mufti Ahmad Yar Khan Naimi Rahmatullahi alayhi also says, and he clarifies, he says, not every usage of another person's property or wealth or anything that belongs to them is impermissible. So he gives an example. He says, every such thing which belongs to another person, if we were to use it and it doesn't decrease, then we are allowed to use it. For example, someone has a street light, someone has a lamp, and we were to do mutala'ah under that light. The light won't decrease. This is fine. Similarly, he says, there's shade on a person's wall. There's a bit of shade there. To sit in that shade is perfectly fine as well, and to use that shade as well. And throughout ages, we will find beautiful examples of how our pious predecessors, rahmatullahi alayhim ajma'in, they were mindful of this, of misusing wealth, especially if it belonged to the state treasury. If it was malul waqf, because it's famously said, malul waqfi ka malil yatim. Wealth that has been endowed by the Muslims for the benefit of the Muslim community, to misuse that, it's a very severe sin. It's like misusing the wealth of orphans. So in Al-Quran Al-Kareem, those who misuse the wealth of orphans, they've been described as those who place fire in their belly. They consume fire. Listen to this account, subhanallah. The great Sayyidina Umar bin Abdul Aziz rahmatullahi alayhi. People would come to visit him. People would come to discuss things with him, and he would give time to people. It's stated that once somebody came to him, and at that time Sayyidina Umar bin Abdul Aziz rahmatullahi alayhi had a lamp which was lit. A messenger from an area came. Sayyidina Umar bin Abdul Aziz rahmatullahi alayhi began asking questions. How are the people doing there? Do they need anything? Are they suffering from anything? How is the governor? Where does he live? Etc. So asking about state affairs, about affairs of that particular area which he obviously ruled over. This was his responsibility. After finishing this conversation, the Qasid, the envoy, the messenger said, "O Khalifa, how's your health? How's everything?" As soon as he asked this personal question, Sayyidina Umar bin Abdul Aziz rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi extinguished the lamp. And then he asked for another smaller lamp to be brought, and that was lit instead. And then he said to the person, "Ask whatever you want now." The person began asking about his health, his family, other things like that. Now the Qasid, the envoy, the messenger, he was very surprised. He couldn't refrain from asking. So he said, "Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I'm surprised. I came, I spoke to you, the lamp was lit. As soon as I asked about your health and changed the topic a bit, you extinguished the lamp. You had another lamp brought. What's the hikmah? What's the wisdom behind all of this?" As Sayyidina Umar bin Abdul Aziz rahmatullahi alayhi says, the lamp was lit. You were asking about affairs which concern me regarding that area you've come from. I have to make decisions regarding that area. I was asking you about the area you've come from. State laws and rules and affairs. And that lamp that was lit using the wealth of the Muslims. Straight treasury, Baytul Mal. And when you started asking me personal questions, I did not feel that it was appropriate to continue using that lamp. Why? Because you're asking about me now. It's normal questions about my well-being. But that lamp that was being used was funded by what? The wealth of Muslims. So I had it extinguished. I extinguished it straight away. Then I had my personal lamp brought, that was lit, and then I asked you to ask me everything you want. Why? Because now it's my personal lamp. You can do so. I'm not using the wealth of Muslims for my personal matters and affairs, personal conversations. SubhanAllah, look at this great example they've used on Madani Channel. Look at this example. Who would do that today? People don't care today. As long as money's coming in, doesn't matter where it's coming from, whether it's Muslims, blood, sweat and tears of Muslims, their sacrifices, people don't care. And look at the ihtiyat, look at the cautiousness of Sayyidina Umar bin Abdul Aziz rahmatullahi ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala once again give us pious rulers like him and give us tawfiq to understand the sensitivity of this matter. Only use what belongs to you. And if needs be, ask permission, consent, approval, and once you've been given permission, you may use the things of others. Otherwise, we should refrain from it. Ameen. Bijahin Nabi al-Amin sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam.
We love Madani Channel. We love Madani Channel. We love Madani Channel.